Well, hey Matt, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks
Good.
for asking.
Nice to meet you officially. I'm Tony from laughingplace.com. Uh love the series. I jumped in, I'm not gonna lie, mid second season, and then I had to go back and watch everything, and I'm a big fan.
I hope you did watch the
Yeah.
yeah, because there's so much stuff that comes back in
Yeah, I'm
season
noticing
three.
that
Yeah,
now. I'll catch up. There's been at least three callbacks in the last three episodes.
yeah,
So everybody's coming back in for the grand finale, as it were.
yeah, yeah.
Well, now that leads into my first question I had. Starting development, you had this whole thing planned out, right, for all three seasons. Did you see yourself doing that from the beginning, just pulling in all these people we've already met?
So there's a drawing from season one that is like it just says season three and underneath it, and it was like all our hopes and dreams and like one image that was like Anne, and she's got a sword and she's riding Domino too. You know what I mean? Her
Okay. Yeah.
giant like moth.
Yep.
So like that idea of like where we wanted to take the show and what season one characters we're gonna return has been with us for like a really long time. Yeah.
Yeah, so going into that too, what kind of themes and morals and messages did you want to convey in the three seasons? Over time, I'm sure stuff comes up and like, oh, let's expand on this, let's do that. But which ones did you want to make sure were there the entire time?
So this show has had the wonderful advantage of having like a very strong thematic element that was set up at the beginning, which is the
Mm-hmm.
kind of like ebb and flow of friendship
Mm-hmm.
where you're together, you grow apart, you grow on your own, you find each other again, you're different now. What does that mean? Those kinds of questions have always been what the show is about because you have these three girls who are a very tight knit group and they
Yes.
get dropped into this crazy Lord of the Rings fantasy rigmarole, but they're split up. And then individually now independent from one another, they have their own adventures and they grow in their own specific ways, and then when they come back together they're all a bit different, and that has
Yeah.
always like even in pilot that was like a mission statement for the show. So I think we've been able to use that as our guiding light,
Mm-hmm.
producing all three seasons and trying to make sure that that was always coming through. And I think that these final episodes is our last chance to really like nail that stuff down.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah.
to really commit to those ideas.
Yeah. Like I said, I jumped in the middle of season two and had to go back, and then I realized, oh, like I put it all together, like, oh, this character's this and this way, and this is happening now. And I don't want to say too much for those who haven't caught up yet, but yeah, it's definitely some. And I'm also glad you said Lord of the Rings, because I compare, as so do so many fans, the Owl House and Amphibia, and I always say Owl House is kind of like fun Harry Potter, and
Yeah.
then Amphibia is like fun Lord of the Rings.
Yes.
So I'm so glad you
Yes.
said that.
Yes. That I think that's an apt comparison because like one of our greatest inspirations was The Hobbit,
Okay.
like moving forward in the show of the world and how much magic there was in it, like
Mm-hmm.
not very much. So and that the magic would always feel like a little lo-fi when it showed up, you know, when like Gandalf comes down the hill
Mm-hmm.
and like he shines the light, and like I was like, man, that's so classy because like it's not like he shoots a laser beam, you know what I mean, like he
Yeah.
just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah,
So I
he
think
just shows up and it's there.
yeah, that was sort of our goal for Amphibia, was to let it feel a little bit more like a Tolkien-esque place, which is nice because then I feel like the Owl House and Amphibia can occupy like slightly different spaces, which is
Yes.
that's good.
We'll talk about the two of them again in a little bit here. But I also, like you said, Lord of the Rings too. I'm going to jump on that. The world building and the universe is just so rich and so dense, especially for a YA kids show. Like, again, is that a YA kids show is kind of redundant, isn't it? But, yeah.
No,
uh,
it's not
okay. Okay.
because kids could be, and like I of course I've got demos drilled into my head. So like kids could be like, you know, 6 year olds and
Yeah.
YA is like 12-year olds, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I will say that the show, and I'll ask you this now, I'll jump ahead of myself here. The show, I feel like, is targeted at 6 to 11, but skews a lot older in terms of its audience. Was that something you expected or surprised by?
Not surprised because when we wrote the show, we always only wanted to make something that would make us laugh and would
Mhm.
interest us. Because when you're writing, your biggest tool is your gut.
Yep.
So, I think there's lots of people who are like dowsers, are really talented at kind of finding what someone else will like
Mhm.
kids, but I've never really been good. I can only create what like I would be interested in watching, and that results in kind of an older fan base. I will say though that, and this was really interesting for me to learn, on the channel, we skew young. So
Okay.
on the channel, it's like 6-year-olds who are like super into the show,
Yeah.
which I was like, oh no, because like there's some stuff in there. You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
yeah, like so when our True Colors kind of debacle was happening, a lot of that discussion was more about what's appropriate for a 4, 5, and 6-year-old, because
Mhm.
that's sort of who Amphibia's biggest demo was on the network, which is different from
Mhm.
like what our demo is on Twitter or on fan spaces. You know what I mean? These are
That's
very, yeah, they're very
yeah.
different audiences.
That's my follow-up, because you could just type in Amphibia, and if you get daring, Amphibia theory into YouTube, and then just boom, and it's never little kids hosting these shows.
Yeah. So
It's
that texture of the world building,
yeah.
as a writer, as a writing team, we only ever wanted this place to feel real.
Mhm.
Like it's a real place, it has real history, it has real social structure. Those kinds of things, to me, the details are what make a place feel lived in.
Yeah.
We wanted to feel like if the camera wasn't rolling, this world was still going.
Yeah. Yeah, and it works. It works brilliantly well. I will say you also brought it into the real world that we know for this season, modern day Earth. To me, that was very much. I'm old. Forgive me. Planet of the Apes 3,
Ah,
the third one of the original ones.
what?
And
How old are you? You look young.
thanks. I'm 37, but
Oh,
yeah, thanks.
okay. All right. I'm 34, so I'm like,
Okay.
we're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
But I was like, there's a lot of retro film influence on Amphibia,
100%.
and to me that was very much Planet of the Apes 3 when Cornelius and Zira come back to Earth. The whole time I'm like, this is it. But then like we've also had in the recent episode, it was Fantastic Voyage going into Mother Ohm.
Yes.
And there's just so many like
Yes.
different like Robin Hood Men in Tights, I think was on this
Yes.
week's. Yeah.
Yes. I grew up with Robin Hood Men in Tights. It's like the
Okay.
funniest. It was like the funniest movie to me. And so to pay to have an homage to that movie,
Mhm.
I was just so delighted. But I will tell you, a lot of our board artists were young and had not seen the film, and I was
Okay.
just kind of like, you guys haven't seen Robin Hood Men in Tights? Like, well, how do you know what comedy is, Oh, and Fantastic Voyage, that's
Yep.
a funny one, because really what I was spoofing was Magic School Bus, because like
Okay.
that's what I had, and
Yep.
I've never seen Fantastic Voyage, but I know that like all of those episodes are children of Fantastic Voyage.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I could have said Inner Space. I could have said for the
Yeah,
hardcore Disney fans out there, there was a ride called Body Wars where you fly through the body, and I'm like, it's the same thing, but it all goes back to
exactly,
Fantastic Voyage.
exactly.
You also said Magic School Bus. That kind of harkens back to that, something from your youth. I had DuckTales, Chip and Dale, other Nickelodeon shows. I don't know if I could mention here, but do you hope in the future this generation will look back at Amphibia as that kind of show?
Yes, I really hope that people in the future, kids in the future, will watch Amphibia and look at those crazy episodes where like we really explore some fun sci-fi,
Yeah.
fun horror, and just kind of challenge themselves in terms of what a cartoon can do,
Yeah.
and sort of like the kind of stories you can tell with animation, which is really anything.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you hope like the legacy of Amphibia will be?
I hope that people look at Amphibia and are able to kind of treasure the message that it delivers in its final
Okay.
episodes. And I think that that's, obviously we can have more of a discussion about that when it like finally comes out.
Yes.
But
Yes.
like really, Amphibia has always been about friendship and the changing nature of friendship, these ebbs and flows of relationships where you'll start together and you'll grow apart, and then you'll find each other again after you've found some independence and you become a different person. And what does that mean for a friendship moving forward? I really think Amphibia is all about those things. And like even as early as season 1, you have these girls that are very tight. They get dropped into this like crunchy place, they split apart, and like they find each other again. And I hope that those themes resonate with people for years to come.
I like the crunchy place.
It is crunchy. That was part of my pitch, man. Like, and I was looking at like my old documents, like the first pitch 2015, man. So like it's just been years. And like in those first pitches, it really was 3 mean girls dropped into a muddy, crunchy, dangerous Lord of the Rings-esque world. That was really the very inception of the story.
So are you going back to that now and thinking like, is there anything I missed, or have I done it all?
I mean,
or is it just a nostalgic trip?
It's a trip because it was like a very different show, but like I'm very much like move forward. Like I don't dwell on like I should have done this, or it could have been like this, and like but like I really look at that and I'm so pleased and proud of like what my team was able to make, because I really believe what you're seeing on TV and what is about to air is not only our best work, but like the best version of this show. Like the ending is like, to me, the best version of this ending. And like, I'm very pleased with what they were able to do, especially like, COVID and working from home, all these restrictions and limitations and challenges, but like they all rose to the occasion. Like they're really magnificent people. And like now, some of these crew members are like my friends for life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You brought up COVID and working from home, not counting, we all know it had an effort or an impact on the production process, but did it have an impact on the show, like the final product at all that's visible?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And this is something that, every time you watch an episode on TV, you remember where you were when you made it.
Okay. Yeah.
So all of season 3, especially the beginning, that was like hardcore. COVID had just started. We're all at a really bad place. And like, we really just want to have a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Like, and that was what was so wonderful for us working on season 3 together, especially like the characters have just gone back to LA too. So it's like, oh man, this is spooky because like the show's in LA and we're in LA, but we can't go outside. One of our art directors, or both of them, Amy and Sanjay, amazing folks, commented that designing the BGs for LA was very emotionally satisfying for them, because they felt like they could go outside and visit places that they used to be able to go to easily. But in lockdown, we couldn't do that. You know what I mean? But those episodes, of Anne kind of reaffirming her relationship with her parents and taking care of the planters in Los Angeles was such a wonderful thing for us to work on when it was like quite awful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I asked the question, and I remembered Sprig had the face mask at a certain point when they went into the stores and everything like that. And it wasn't just his disguise, I don't think.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that was a weird coincidence, dude. Because like those pre-designs got made just as COVID was starting to happen. And I think the artist was like, well, this will be a great design. And then like the next day, like stuff really hit the fan. And we were like, this is so crazy that Sprig's walking around in a medical mask. You know what I mean? Like,
I just shouldn't say I love hearing those kind of coincidences, but I think they're fascinating. When you hear like these kind of stories, like this was like I did stuff for Raya and the Last Dragon, and a lot of those themes kind of are similar to what's going on.
You would be amazed. And like sometimes it doesn't play into your advantage, because like you'll write a story and then an awful thing will happen and you'll be like, I can't create this specific story. But like, yes, I think that it's amazing how often like art like imitates life, and it's like kind of like sometimes tells the future. There's this incredible book called Severance Amazing. Oh, I want to get you the author, but like that, like kind of predicted COVID years in advance, and like work from home, and like
Wow.
yeah, it's written by Ling Ma. It's an incredible book, but like in that book, like the main character
I
even
wrote that
like,
down, even though I have the video coming
oh,
soon.
it's an incredible book, and it's really spooky to read it, because like she works at a company, and then like when the pandemic hits in their world, everyone starts to work from home, but she decides to stay in the office because she loves to work. So it's like it's really spooky.
Right behind you, I see a Team Marcy pillow. Is that
Mm-hmm.
right? Is she your favorite?
Oh, how dare you? None
Okay.
of them are my favorites. I love them all. I
Who would you
adore
say is the most
Marcy.
relatable then for yourself?
So, Anne will always be the one that I gravitate the most towards,
Okay.
because like the show really is about her and her journey and
Mhm.
the relationships that she's building. Especially her and her parents. I don't know if you know this, but my mom voices her
That
mom.
was my next question about guest stars, and I was going to
So
segue into your
yeah, so
mom, but yes.
there's obviously nothing more relatable to me than hearing like my mom's voice come out of Anne's mom. And when they argue, when my mom, the actor now,
Yeah.
when Mrs. Boonshoy yells at Anne, I like flinch, because like that's how I used to get
Yep.
yelled at. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
I instinctively I'm like, oh God, oh, I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
Did you
Like,
direct her in the booth?
I did. I
Okay,
did
so was
direct
it
her in
just
the
like
booth.
pretend I broke the window back
It's
when I was 12?
literally what I would
Okay.
say. I'd be like, I broke the lamp and you're so mad. Just let me have it go. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was such a wonderful time working with her. And I was a little worried, because like, I was like, I hope this doesn't strain the relationship, but like, she was so good and like a total pro. So
Nice. You had other guest stars like Whoopi Goldberg. I spotted Wallace Shawn in there. I have a list and I just completely lost it. But I knew Whoopi Goldberg, Wallace Shawn, Tony Hale. Any particular ones you were fond of working with?
I loved working with all of them. Tony Hale's
Okay.
a genius. Like his little bits of stumbling and improv were some of the funniest takes to listen
Is
to.
there anything
I
that's left in the show like that?
oh
Okay.
yeah. Like
Okay.
Tony Hale, like in that episode, The Root of Evil,
Mhm.
there's this like awkward moment where, the mushroom men and the planters have worked together to fend off the robots, but they're mortal enemies. And so like at the end of the fight, they're like, hey, good job out there. It's like, yeah, you too. And there's like a long beat. And then like Tony Hale's character is like, well, I guess we're still gonna kill you. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do that. And like I feel like most of that line was him
I could
ad-libbing and just
now that
yeah.
I know that makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
But
because it's so
yeah,
natural,
yeah,
right? Like the way he sounds. But dude, I love Wallace Shawn. Wallace, just an
yeah,
absolute legend. Like Princess Bride and Rex from Toy
yeah.
Story. Like his voice is like a warm blanket. I'm so glad we got him in there. Whoopi Goldberg, obviously, like just an absolute legend. One personal like geek out thing for me is that like we got both like we got the dad and the daughter from Downton Abbey. You know what
Okay.
I mean?
Yep.
Michelle Dockery and Hugh Bonneville, and
Okay.
like I love them so much. I can't believe they're on the show. You know what I mean? I'm such a Downton Abbey nut. I love that show.
My girlfriend will have to watch this later because she could tell you anything about Downton Abbey. I'm not too
Uh,
well versed in it, but I'll
well,
let her know.
Michelle Dockery is Lady Olivia,
Okay.
and I have like the fondest memory of like Lady Olivia has to do some like martial arts
Yep.
or whatever, and
I
Michelle
think that was the
Dockery,
first
who's
episode I watched, to be honest.
yeah,
The
oh
one where
really,
she's teaching the daughter. Yep.
sleepover, the
Yeah.
sleepover one.
Yep.
Oh, that one's so awesome with like the ghosts and this stuff. Michelle Dockery, who normally plays very reserved characters, like very evenly keeled characters,
Mhm.
was like up there, like karate chopping and like hiya and like doing kicks, like you know what I mean, like actual kicks in the booth. And I was just like, this is the greatest.
That's fun. I Where's that footage? Is there a Blu-ray release coming?
I don't know that I was allowed to take footage. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I
Yeah. Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like I wish, man, I wish we could have a Blu-ray. I miss behind the scenes stuff. We did one
Yeah.
for Gravity Falls, and that was just so fun to put together, you know, like to narrate over the episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, it's with Disney Plus now. I feel like we've lost that stuff, but
I know.
some series like Amphibia absolutely need it. And
Yeah,
where's
is
it
there
at?
any is there yeah, I know. Is there any stuff on Disney Plus where like they do have like a director commentary? I don't even know. I should go
Not that I've
hunting,
seen
but
for TV series. I've seen like little special like
yeah.
featurettes attached to feature films, but
I'll bet
um
you though I'll bet you though they'll have it in the future. I think I feel like this is more like a tech thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
like you do it as an audio track, like a different audio track. And
yeah,
like
like a
I
different
think they
language
can
track.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think they can do it. I think it's just about we gotta wait like 5 years and
make some
they'll get it
calls.
in
Make
there.
some calls.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do my best, man.
Speaking of the next 5 years, Amphibia's coming to a close tier. But what's next for Matt Brawley
So
that
I
you can
don't
talk
know.
about? That you can talk
Yeah.
about? Yeah.
No, I'll tell you
Okay.
the truth. I'm not sure, trying to figure it out. I think though that I really have my heart set on either a limited series or a movie.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
what I mean? Like I had so much
I have it
fun
right here in my notes. Feature question mark.
looking. But I had so much fun doing those big tentpole like action oriented episodes. And like even these last couple episodes, like they're so exciting and they have such kind of like emotionally resonant moments. I kind of got a taste for that stuff, and I wouldn't mind trying to focus on something that was a little bigger, a little grander, and a little bit more like, you know what I mean, like romantic. I guess, you know, from a scope,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of scope.
Can I say something? Full disclosure. You can
Sure.
tell that you like the tentpole stuff, as far as I'm concerned, by watching,
Yeah.
because there are times I'm like, all right, this episode's just filler, and it's not a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
still an entertaining episode, but I'm like, then you start getting more into the story and the like the
Yeah.
epicness, and I'm like, yeah, and you could just feel like everybody's just
Yeah.
sinking their teeth
Well,
into those ones.
when we make those episodes, we always start with like, what's a list of the craziest, coolest that we can do? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and it's fun to do that stuff, man.
yeah. No, it's amazing. And it comes through, and in my opinion, that's when the show is at its best, is when you can feel
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
That's so great. But you know, you gotta be careful though. You can't like you don't know, like again, like filler is like not really a word.
Oh no,
that
no, yeah,
we
filler is a
use.
bad word to say because there's always something in it.
Because I'm like, oh, you never know what's gonna come back. And also
Yep.
like stuff that seems like innocuous or like you can skip it, like it's still meaningful to the character that experienced it.
I'd
And
like to
like
point out I never said skip those episodes.
yeah, but like, you know, it's the kind of thing where like you can totally skip episodes and just watch like the temple stuff, and I think you'll have a great time. But I do think that like if you do skip too many, I'll just say too many, like you may get to the end and not have the same full experience.
Yeah.
If as someone who like actually watched them. So like,
Yep.
and that's tricky though. That's a lot to ask because like we're in an age now where like I feel like 100 segments is a lot to ask from someone. Yeah. So I'm sympathetic.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say skip any, but I feel like I'm taking up a little bit too much of your time here, and I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
But one last thing for all the fans out there. I know we did one at kind of Comic-Con. Will there ever be a mashup between Amphibia and the Owl House?
So never say never.
Okay.
And Dana Terrace and I are really good friends. And I think what we should do is let both shows resolve.
Yes, absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%.
See where we're at, and then see what's possible and what makes sense and would be yummy for the characters. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's absolutely possible. I do think though that it's like we didn't really want to cross over now because like
absolutely
we want
not.
you. Yeah,
sorry.
We want,
as a fan of the show, both shows,
totally,
absolutely not.
I loved like that table read we did. It was so much fun, and like the characters had really good chemistry.
I was very anti that until I saw the table read, and I said, okay, but not while this is happening.
Here's what we should do. And like again, for the record, all speculation. Nothing is getting made. Don't ever like imply like nothing. There's nothing like this. But like my dream would be to do like a 3-way crossover with Gravity Falls, Amphibia, and the Owl House. But like do it like crazy, like huge budget, hour and a half, like just bananas animation. You know what I mean? Just like really make it but you have to do it in a couple of years. Like you got to let the
Yeah,
shows
you gotta let it go. Yeah.
finish. But I
No,
think
I'd be down
like
for that.
we would love. I'm sure we would love to like do something. It's just a question of like when and who and how and that. But like
Yeah.
we hear all the chatter about it and we love it. So
Yeah. Awesome.
but no commitments, and there's nothing like that. Like, yeah, just don't. I'm just speculating.
Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.
Yeah.
Speculation. I'll put it on the bottom too,
Just
flashing.
full caveats.
Speculation only.
Just say Matt would love if something like that happened in the next 10 years, but has nothing else to say about it.
Matt, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I enjoyed every minute of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to talk to you.
You too.